Astu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namah Shivaya and welcome to meditation. The other day somebody asked me what was the difference between a guru and a minister or a priest. And I thought that was a good. I thought that was a very good question. Like, what's the difference? Like, how does a guru, which is a word in in America right now that we're not really crazy about it. We're not crazy about the idea of it and the concept of it, or even the term. We kind of are shunning it right now, especially within the yoga community. We've had some situations with gurus where they've shown that they're very they're vulnerable to the ego and doing kind of stupid things, just like everybody else, and they had kind of set themselves up on a higher spiritual pedestal. And then you have to question, were they ever gurus to begin with? Like, because in reality, a real guru wouldn't be in that situation. Because a real guru would never try to control and manipulate the students. And I'll get to why that is in a minute. So, guru means remover of darkness. So that means that the guru is actually trying to help you understand truth or sat within yourself, right? The guru is actually somebody who's there to help you build self-confidence. And when I say self-confidence, I don't mean the confidence of the ego. It's the confidence in the true self. It's to really help you understand that these teachings of wisdom are already in you, but everything that you've gone through karmically and your situation and just being born in form, you can't really connect to it. You need somebody to help you kind of like clear out the clutter. And the guru is actually there to do that. So they give advice, they give sadhana, they give teaching practices, they then give discourse, so that like you actually kind of think, well, I've always known that anyway. I just never thought much about it. I never pondered it. Priests and ministers and pastors and preachers, they're different. They're different because the intent of why they exist is different. A guru may not have like he may have a lineage going back. He has teachers and teachers and teachers, but that they could actually just be people. Like, they don't have to actually be Brahmins. Their guru could have just been, the guru could have been a doctor, or their guru could have been a farmer, or their guru could have just been a sadhu. Whereas priests and ministers and pastors and reverends and bishops, they're actually are connected to religious institutions that are actually installing them with the teachings so that they can preach to others or minister to others. Right? So automatically, because of how their structure is, there's always kind of like a hierarchy between priest, reverends, preachers, ministers, and the congregation, because they've been trained to minister. Their goal is never really to elevate the congregation, or in the yoga we would use the word practitioner, into understanding that the wisdom that they're trying to get them to see is already in them. There is a codependent relationship between bishops, imams, preachers, priests, and their congregations. There is a hierarchy that takes place, that there will never be equality, and there will never be the ability for the practitioner to surpass the knowledge of the priest, the imam, the minister, the preacher, the bishop, the pope, on down the line. Whereas over here, when we talk about the teachings of true of the true guru, Kulak, is that that the guru within what we call Hinduism would be delighted to have a student actually surpass their knowledge. They would be so elated just to have been a part of seeing another being surpass them, that they would celebrate it. They would never put them down. When we look at the stories, right, both Ram and Krishna, who are avatars of God, they are actually, God in form. They both have gurus, and they, as forms of God, actually ask their gurus questions. They seek help from their gurus. So there's, from the student point of view, there's never a moment where they say to the guru, I am God, and actually I don't know why I'm talking to you. And there's never a moment when in the discourse where, like, when the guru actually starts to really understand the supreme power of Ram or Krishna, that they kind of step up and go, well, you know what, I'm the guru, you should still, because they're all of a sudden, like, ecstatic that they had an interaction with God in form. Whereas, over here, there's a constant reminder that the congregation, the practitioner, the non-educated layman is just that. You're always the layman. You're never going to rise above that status. A lot of times, what will happen over here, which has been like, and here again, like, you guys know, I will go back through history. We like to think of the split between the Church of England and Catholic Rome only solely about Henry VIII wanting to marry Anne Boleyn. That was the moment where the king actually signed the paper and said, I want something. The only way to get it is to say we're no longer connected to the hierarchy and the of Rome. But in reality, throughout Europe, there were practitioners, there were laymen who were actually, like, sitting around questioning the authority of the priesthood and the bishop system and the authority of Rome and the Pope, And one of the big questions was that that they felt like that they should be able to have insights into the spiritual teachings as practitioners. And this is why it was a heresy to actually take biblical text and print it in English or a language outside of Latin. 99.9% of the population, unless you were a priest, they didn't understand Latin anymore. They couldn't read it. They couldn't write it. They couldn't speak it. So, you either had to be somebody who was being trained as a doctor and you still used Latin in medieval medicine, or and even plants still had Latin names, but it was priests who were actually trained in the language of Latin to understand it, to write it, to interpret it, and all of the Catholic documents of the Bible were in Latin at the time. So it was that was a big shift, right? People said, we even want to read what this text is in our own language. And the church said, no, you can't do that. So it was, I'm here, you're here, and you're going to stay here. You see that sometimes what will even happen in modern times, like, you will get into a discussion with a minister or a preacher or a priest from any of the Abrahamic traditions, and you will say, well, this is something that I see, or this is something I know, and you will have them kind of flip on you and kind of say, well, how can you know that, or why are you questioning that? I'm the priest, you're not. And it's very disturbing, because you realize that there are still spiritual teachers that are out there operating on this oppressive system of, I sit here because I went to seminary or yeshiva, or I studied the Quran and I am a imam, and you are nothing. You have no right. You have no opinion. But over in this world, in yoga, where yoga comes from, many of the great saints of this tradition, Ramakrishna, Annamaya Ma, were completely illiterate, like they couldn't read, and they became great teachers, both by example and by speaking on these doctrines of faith within this tradition. You also had great teachers like Swami Vivekananda, who came from a very wealthy family and was very well educated. He went to Cambridge. He studied. He was very literate. So he had that ability. You see both sides, but you never would see Swami Vivekananda say, well, how can Ramakrishna, and these guys are living about the same time period, how can Ramakrishna have any insights, because he didn't study, he didn't go to college, he doesn't have a diploma. He accepted that there was that Ramakrishna had sought within him and truth, and he was speaking truth. And there was never a moment where you saw put downs or cuts or slights. So that's the big difference between this tradition over here and this tradition over here, and this idea of guru versus minister, preacher, or priest, is that that over here we're exploring the idea that wisdom, truth is within all of us, and that any one of us at any given time could have a spiritual insight that is actually valid, that could actually change the course of where we are now, and move us into a deeper understanding. It doesn't matter if they can read or write, if they have formal education, if they are from a good family or a bad family, or what their lineage is. Anyone can actually have that moment of sat, and have an epiphany. That's what it's called in Latin. There's like an epiphany in spirituality. Over on this side, you have that epiphany, and a saint has to go through so many years of judgment by popes and bishops, and voting before somebody says, yes, this was a legitimate experience, an epiphany, and validates it. Not so over here. And the teachers over here are always willing to listen to what the student has to say, because you never know when you're dealing. You may be dealing yourself with God, like in the case of Ram and Krishna. Vaishista was Ram's teacher. We always do Vaishista asana, side planks. That's his asana. Krishna's teacher, I'd have to go back and look that up. But Krishna did have a guru. But the name's escaping me. But you would never put them down or stifle them, because as the teachers, you could be dealing with the next avatar. And that's that recognizing of whatever's in me is also within someone else. Not the case over here. Not the case over here. So this is kind of like what I kind of call the line in the sand, right? Between what Abrahamic traditions and Eastern philosophy, that over here there's no hierarchy. Over here there's a structure that has been set up from thousands and thousands and thousands of years of institutionalization of religious doctrine and scholarly work. And there are the laymen, and there are those that have knowledge, and unless you do the formal education, you will always be confronted from a minister or a preacher or a priest or a imam. Well, what do you know? I'm the imam. What do you know? I'm the priest. What do you know? I'm the minister. Not so over here. If I go to my guru, if I go to Guruji, and I say, I have this insight, he would never say, well, Austin, that's just stupid. Like, you're just a yoga teacher with 800 hours. He would say that's a good insight. If he thought that I needed some guidance, he would say to me, well, but maybe you should also think about or look into this, and this, or really meditate on this and really see if that's what you're experiencing, if that's really what sat is. Explore this internally. Don't totally rely on external knowledge. And that's what Yogeshwar would say to me. And I know that because he's done both with me. He's like, that's a beautiful insight. And he's also like, think about this deeper. Go deeper into this. But he's never said to me, I'm the guru and you're the student. How dare you question or think, But over here I've had that happen before many, many, many times. And I take my cue from my teacher, my guru. When students come to me and they express something, I listen. I also try to guide. If I feel like there's other stuff that they may need to know, I will say, well, look at this book or see this or listen to this teacher teach. See what they have to say about that. Like go deeper into this and meditate on this, and come back to me and talk about this again. Or I will say to somebody, that's an amazing insight. I never even saw that. I never like witnessed that. So I try to teach like my guru teaches, right? Um, and that's the guru tradition that you then emulate your teacher, and um, it's very powerful and liberating because you're never looking down upon the students that you're teaching, are those people who are in the room with you. They're actually your equals. It's not that you're their superior and they're inferior. Taking a moment, setting up, and allow yourself to go inward. And the teachings have always been that the truth or sat is within you. And we've all had experiences where we thought something was true, and actually it was the mind talking to us. It was our emotions and our mind and our feelings, but deep down inside we knew that something else we needed to connect to another teaching. We've all experienced that. So this idea of meditation, you're connecting to something deeper than your thoughts, your mind, your emotions. You're connecting to something that's unchanging, that doesn't switch around at all. It's always there. It's said that sat exists in the past, the present, and the future all at the same time because it never changes. And as you focus your mind, calm the breath, allow the breath to deepen. Inhale deeply. Exhale deeply. And enjoy the breath. Allow the breath to really fill you. We breathe so shallowly, but at the same time, the breath is the life force. So inhale deeply. Exhale deeply. As you inhale, focus on the mantra Om. Aum. And as you inhale, hear the sound of Om within yourself. Match that sound of Om to the inhale and the exhale. Exhale deeply. Inhale. Exhale. as you continue that, as you inhale, see the symbol of Om as you inhale the sound of Om. As you exhale the sound of Om, see the symbol of Om internally. As thoughts come, as the mind wanders, focus on the breath, focus on the mantra of Om and the symbol of Om within the mind's eye. Continue to inhale deeply. Continue to exhale deeply. Silently say to yourself, I am not this body. Silently tell yourself, I am not this mind. Silently tell yourself, I am not these thoughts. Silently tell yourself, I am not these emotions. Tell yourself you are Swayambakashit, self-illuminating, infinity, eternal, everlasting light. Inhale for the sound of Om. Bringing the hands together, rubbing the hands together, building heat within the hands. Bring the hands over the eyes, allow the heat from the hands to be absorbed into the eyes. Gently open the eyes, bring the hands across the forehead, the top of the head, the back of the neck. Bringing the hands together in prayer and bowing the head slightly, allowing the thumbs and the forehead to touch. Recognizing the teachings and the teachers that have brought us these teachings from the past, the present, and those that are still yet to be revealed. Om Bolo Sadguru Bhagavan Ki Jai. Thank you all so much for being here today.